Ready. Okay, we are recording.
All right. Well, we'd like to welcome everybody to the October Yolo County Fire Safe Council meeting. The first action on the agenda after calling the meeting to order is to approve the agenda, which Tanya is now sharing, and then
You will note it's slightly different from last week's.
yep. So once everybody has a chance to review it, looking for a motion or anybody who has any urgent matters to go ahead and comment or speak up or comment, or objections.
Move to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. I'm not hearing anybody else jumping up. I don't think everything in the chat's just checking in. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed to changes the minutes, accepting the minutes? Nay. Hearing none. All right. So the next step is to review from the meeting packet sent out a week ago to approve the minutes of the September 25th, 2024 meeting. Are there any changes or comments?
Bay Valley moves to approve them.
Second, West Winters.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. Hearing no other objections, I'll go ahead and call the question and get that out. All in favor of approve the minutes? Say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Nay. All right, that carries. So we're now on to item 4, member announcements.
Is there anybody Chris Rose is here, and I know he has a very exciting announcement that you actually heard last week, which I will start because I'm excited about it, is the Solano RCD plant sale, their fall plant sale. This one is not as fire focused, but it's still going to have awesome plants for sale, and it's going to be held at the Green River Brewery just over the bridge from Winters. And I believe it will be noon to 4.
This is
That
Karen.
is correct.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Okay, so they went off mute and back on, so I got it right. So even if you don't love native plants, you can come have a beer and learn some stuff about plants. And the West Winters Fire Safe Council is discussing tabling there and the RCD as well. So that is I don't have any other announcements.
I don't know if this is the right place, but do you get some credit for how limited the fire was that was just west of Winters?
I can actually speak to that because I did go out there with our battalion chief, Chief Watson, and they did stop the fire before it got to our fire break. However, if it had continued another 50 feet, it would have gotten to our fire break, which would have been easier for the firefighters to be on the road to deal with it. So we had reduced, we sort of changed the composition of the fuels to big dead standing trees, or from big standing trees and brush to on the ground, so there would be less flames had it gotten that far. But it didn't, because Winters Fire Department was on it and put it out. But I did see it on the map that afternoon, and it was all I could do to not race out there and go see how it was doing. But yeah, and if you remember, that was Friday, which was the day of the super high winds. So thank you, firefighters.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief Snyder and everybody in Winters Fire and everybody else who responded. That I'm so impressed that that fire was kept as small as it was.
I know. Yeah, it was amazing.
All right, this is just a more general announcement. Again, it's not fires, it's fish. But the Winter Salmon Festival is coming up on the first Saturday of November, and so I believe that is Saturday, November 2nd from 11 to 4 in Winters Rotary Park on East Main Street, right by the community center across the street from Steady Eddie's Coffee House. And there are going to be all sorts of booths, including, I'm guessing, some RCDs. And Carol can probably speak to this a lot more than I can. Live music, hopefully big anadromous fish in the creek. Carol, do you
Yeah.
want to say something more?
Well, yes, fish have been spotted in the creek, so they're coming into town and hanging out, so. They've made it up to the diversion dam already, so haven't seen any spawning activity, I think, yet, but. We built a fish ladder, a squad built a fish ladder and got it installed, and it's really helping with them making their way into town. So hope to see you all at the Salmon Festival, 11 to 4 on the 2nd.
Great.
Thanks.
And you are correct. There will be RCDs there. Solano and Yolo will be sharing a booth.
Lots
Great.
of great information there. We have
Great.
many
Yeah, and I know,
booths.
yeah, Pewter Creek Council will be there.
And couple of food trucks. So,
He will be there.
Great.
Oh, excellent. And I'm actually dropping in the chat a link if you want to see a live fish cam. You can go to that link, and if a fish happens to be swimming by when you are looking at it, you'll see one. And actually, that happened to me. So pretty exciting.
All right. Now are you ready to move on to item
The action item.
the action item? I can read it, or Tanya, you can explain it.
I will share it again so we can.
Yep.
Oops, that's not the one I wanted. I'll share it again so we can all read it together. And I'll give you a little background just to remind you. So if you remember, we had designated some funding for the evacuation tags, which was about $4,000. And then also the Rumsey Ditch project was more expensive than originally guessed at. So we need to transfer some money from one project to another. I had initially thought of the Winters Creekside project as being able to add to these funds, or we could subtract from that and add to these funds. But we may be doing some work upstream on that project, actually in the high fire areas. And there's the Cape Valley State Highway fuels reduction, which is a good idea, but working with Caltrans can be a little challenging, and we had budgeted $100,000 for that, and I think that may be too much if it even happens. So I thought it would be safer to take the $27,000 that we need for these other projects from that pile of money instead of the Creekside work. So if that makes sense, I can also show you the coordinator report. There's a little bit more detail in that. So, does anyone have any questions? Does that all make sense?
At least for me, it's coming from we haven't geographically, but it's coming out of the same geographic area allocation. So it's certainly, rather than take from Winters, it's Cape A, to Cape A. So
Yes, that is also an excellent point.
Yeah,
not
Cape
that,
Fire supports it.
So,
Do
Tanya,
do we need a motion?
we don't have any other discussion, I guess so.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer for the Cape A funds.
and Laddish will second.
All right. Any other discussion? Speak up now, raise your hand. I don't want to call the question too quickly, but we also have some number of things to discuss. So hearing none, I think we've talked about this enough. I'll go ahead. All in favor to approve moving the 27,000 in funding from Gateway Valley State as described in the agenda. So since I can't read, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. I think that passes. We're on to regular reports, Tanya.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Our first report is from CAL FIRE, and Trevin is on the road and is still here. So if you can give a update, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry if there's background noise. I'm driving. Right now, the Sonoma Lake Napa unit's still at peak staffing with all resources in unit right now. Very much still in fire season, even with the little precip we've gotten. Update on lifting burn bans. It'll take a significant amount of rain, and just so you guys know, we usually coordinate with neighboring units to do it on the same day as well, so that we don't end up with neighbors being able to burn on one side of the street and not on the other. We coordinate with Tehama Glen and Mendocino. So that burn ban for residential dooryard burnings in place. Ag burning and broadcast burning can be approved through permitting at burnpermit.fire.ca.gov. And maybe a little education, when you submit that burn permit, it won't immediately get approved. What it does is it goes to all the battalion chiefs' email inbox, and then a battalion chief has to schedule an inspection of that. And then they have an app that they use on their phone where they write the prescription, parameters, draw a map, and all that. So in case not everybody knew that, there is a little bit of a process. It's not just press a button and you have a permit. End of report, unless there's any questions.
It's good to know about the prescribed burning is possible. Thank you. Anyone have any?
Yeah, and I encourage, if anybody has any plans to do any agriculture pile burning or small broadcast burning, to contact me or put in a permit, and I'll call you. And when we have windows of opportunity, even though there is a burn ban where we have forecasted precipitation and all that, we'll definitely work with it. So that's the goal.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for our CAL FIRE Battalion Chief? All right, on to the next regular report. Christopher is here from the Yolo County Office of Emergency Services.
Good evening. So a couple of things. The first thing is we did receive the evacuation tags already. We're in contact with the sheriff's office to kind of figure out a way to distribute those and kind of do a little campaign. Some more information to come on that. The second thing is November 1st, we'll be officially launching our new platform, Genesis, also known as Know Your Zone. Currently, we do have it live on our website. We've encouraged everyone to go ahead and type in your address to see what zone you fall in under. But November 1st, we'll be doing a huge campaign, sharing it and posting it on different platforms for the community to sign up, download the app, and identify what zones they live in. And lastly, I did attend the Ag Pass training that was held earlier this morning. It was very well put. I'm happy that I finally started and the process was established and so forth. So, what the Ag Commissioner's office is encouraging anyone who kind of lives in the Cape Bay Valley and has commercial sized livestock and agricultural productions and are interested in getting the Ag Pass to reach out to them to submit and fill the application for the Ag Pass. Other than that, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type.
I have a question about the Ag Pass program. Has there been much outreach from the Ag Department, and is there a way that the Fire Safe Council could help with that?
From what I heard, because this is like the first time they were kind of targeting more of the commercial producers up in the Cape Bay Valley specifically. But seeing how it could turn into in the future, I think it would be a good solution to reach out to the Fire Safe Council as well.
Did they do like we have our fire chief from the Cape Bay Valleys here, so that would be something that he could, amplify if
Okay.
they had a flyer or a
Yeah,
release.
I'll
info
reach out to
release.
him. I'll reach out to him again and see if
Okay.
he could contact you so we could establish those connections.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, I
Mhm.
have a big email list, and just if there's a little more information, because this is sort of this is a good platform for spreading the word, even if there's no actual ranchers on this call at the moment. Cool, thank you.
Hey, Chris, just a little feedback that I've been hearing randomly about the Ag Pass program. I'd heard several people who were dismissive of the idea of going and taking the class because they said that getting back in during evacuation periods is not a huge challenge anyway. So they felt like getting the pass and taking the class was unnecessary because they could just blow past the roadblock like they always do and get to their land to feed their animals. So I think that a helpful part of that messaging is just encouraging people to get some basic safety training if they're going to be operating up in this area, because it seems like the kind of the carrot of being allowed access at this point isn't perceived as an issue for some of the folks that I've heard from up here.
Thank you. Yeah, so today there was a gentleman from Cal Fire who did the fire training, and he was just kind of going over the basic fire training component of it. But I think it's good to know, and I'll make sure to reach out to the Ag Commissioner's office to kind of share that information as well, so they can kind of target a little bit more.
Great.
Thank you. And Leanne, you have a question?
I don't have a question. I have a comment about the Ag Pass. So Solano County has the Ag Pass in place, and I have one because I have livestock, and it was a real problem to get back in the next morning to rescue some of my cows. And I do think it's a good thing to take the class and get the pass, because chances are you will be able to get back in if it's safe enough, and you'll be escorted. There's a lot of variables when a mega fire like the LNU occurs. So one of the things that we learned at the Ag Pass, and it was the speaker was a representative from one of the fire departments or fire districts, and talked about safety and knowing when you could actually get around some PG&E lines that were down and burn poles. So for instance, there was a pole on fire right at my gate when I got back in. So it was very helpful to have someone there guiding me in so that he could call for backup to have that put out before it started another fire. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Yeah, education is always good, and it is a little concerning to hear about people blowing past checkpoints. But cool. Well, thanks. Does anyone have any other questions for Chris? Okay, it's on to Yolo RCD projects. I have you guys got the coordinator report. Do you guys want me to go over that, or do you have any questions about that? I'm going to share my screen again. We're working on so if you recall, we had our hub site up when we were in the process of doing the community wildfire protection plan, but that was under a nonprofit license, and that went away. So we have to rebuild it. So we have this map. It's not public facing yet, but I thought it would be more interesting to look at a map than a spreadsheet. So updating on the projects that we have going. So these are all the projects, but the one that I'm highlighting now is the Rumsey Canyon Road and the Rumsey Ditch shaded fuel break. That is 2/3 done. All the, or not all, but 2/3 of the understory and ladder fields have been cleared. An old barbed wire fence was removed so that it'll be possible to do the work as well as maintain the site. It looks really good, and that's great. And the county had done a little bit of veg work along Ramsey Canyon Road last month, and we're just making that whole area a lot clearer and safer. There'll be some dead trees taken down, as well as undergrowth. So that's exciting to get some on the ground work done. Another project that we're going through permitting issues with is just another shaded fuel break along the stretch of Highway 16. Basically, as the canyon closes in and gets more vegetated, just to again make safer egress and ingress, and possible fire lines for firefighters. It's just a mile up this road. Permitting has yeah, it's been very frustrating, but we are persevering. And then I'm also working on getting some landowner agreements along. There's this little stretch of County Road 41A right here, which is another sort of scary section for firefighters and fire engines. It's just this really vegetated, narrow, windy road. So we just want to push the veg back a bit from that, but we do need permission from the landowners. And I think I'm going to zoom out, and we're continuing our work along Highway 128. And as Don mentioned there, or I said, the fire was moving towards the fuel break, but didn't get there thanks to firefighters. But we're working along this one narrow mile here that would be pretty scary if it was blazing. And we have a 1/4 mile to go. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th of November, we'll have 3 days with the Delta Camp crew if they are not otherwise engaged fighting fires. And we had a chipper day, which I'll let Allie talk about. And also another project that I'm working on that is gaining some traction, which is pretty exciting, is an escape route for folks living in Golden Bear here. So this is actually not mapped yet, but it will be. There's kind of one way in, one way out of the Golden Bear, and be working with PG&E to make it able for a place for folks to actually drive out in a safe way, should that happen. So I think that is it for mapped things. Does anyone have any questions? Stop sharing and look at my list. Yeah, there's a few things in the hopper, but one thing we're learning about doing prescribed burning is that there's a lot of whiplash involved where there'll be plans and then things will change. So I'll just keep you apprised as we learn more about potential prescribed fire for fuels reduction. Does that all make sense? Do you guys like the map as opposed to the spreadsheet?
Yeah, Tanya, you know your audience.
And I like maps.
I liked the map. That was a good map.
Thank you. And it's only going to get better. So moving on through the report, does anyone have any questions?
That's just a comment that I think it's great that you're working with PG&E to get a second way out of Golden Bear. And I don't know if if there've been discussions with something about Positas, but I know both of those are one way in, one way out.
Right. So that's an interesting idea to try to tie in Positas. I'm also hoping to meet with them and this is one of those ideas that hasn't gotten any traction yet, but to do some prescribed grazing around the Positas area to just bring the grass down. But that's a kind of in process at the moment.
I have a question. Do you have any idea where your out section would be at Golden Bear? Because I'm familiar with the area. I live in the North Pleasance Valley.
Yeah, there's a big field that's owned by PG&E I think it's the end of Encinas Road. Big open field with a gate, and you could drive through there, but if there was a fire, then the grass might be burning.
Right.
And then it ties in to an orchard, and then it would go back out.
Okay. Is it the Walnut Orchard at the corner of 128 on that big wide turn?
Not 100% sure.
No, I think Tanya, it was to our land, which is off of Road 87D.
Yes. Yeah. So it would go across the grassy field and then into an orchard and then out to Road 87.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So the Positas, yeah, go ahead, Deb.
Oh, there was some discussion. Neil was out here with our chairman, Kara, and they thought that it was actually going to be too dangerous to cross PG&E field because if it was in flames, it would be scary. Even if we had graded a road, over the field, they just thought that we should look for another way. So I don't know where that is. I'm sure we'll get back to you, but it may not be across the PG&E land. Have you heard from PG&E at all?
I'm super close. I actually talked to one of their lands manager today I will be assigned, can't remember the term, but assigned somebody to work with. And actually, one idea was to burn that and then you could drive across it after it was burned and would not be flammable for the summer. So, yeah.
Except
we're close.
Except it's used for grazing, but the cows are not there. The cows are not there. They're taken out probably about June or so, and that was sort of the reason. Actually, the grass had grown up even after June. We still had some dampness, and so we had some growth. And so when you look out there now, it's like, wow, that's probably dangerous if that catches on fire. But it was actually grazed up until June. But anyway,
interesting. Yeah, it's still pretty grassy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like dry season graze or water limited grazing. I wonder if there's the potential, instead of burning, possibly to add a water source to facilitate grazing longer into the fire season.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. We just have to talk to the landowner, which has been a little bit challenging, but I think that tide is turning.
Water is not the issue because there is water there. It's they usually move the cows to greener pastures, actually. So,
Yeah, I'm meeting with Neil next week out there, Tuesday afternoon. Debbie, if you want to join me.
okay.
But yeah, so moving along, nothing new in the grant world. I know that Kate Reza is talking with Dunnigan Fire Department to help them do a small grant. I'm not sure the details of that. And I'm going to turn it over to Allie for a PBA and outreach update.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. For PBA updates, I think last month I had shared that we had done our training series and we were thinking about hosting a burn at a landowner property in Esparto, but that unfortunately was canceled due to landowner concerns about liability. So we're kind of just pushing forward and finding ways to overcome those concerns, which are valid. And we're hoping to get some burns on the book that will be open to PBA members and volunteers in winter and spring. So that's my update for the PBA, and then just general outreach and program updates. Tanya mentioned it earlier that we had a chipper day last Friday on the 18th, and they visited 7 properties in, I think there was 4 in the Cape Valley and 3 in Winters. And so they got most of it finished. They just didn't finish a couple piles at one of the properties in Winters. So we're going to have another chipper day, hopefully in November before the holidays. So if you have debris that you want to get rid of before the storms this winter, that I definitely recommend that. And signing up on our website. Address sign programs continuing as usual, not much going on there. And then some general outreach updates. It was already mentioned, but we'll be tabling at the Winter Salmon Festival and possibly at Solano RCD's plant sale. We're doing some brochure printing and mailer printing that'll go out soon. And I mentioned this last month, but we're working with a videographer to create a video about defensible space to encourage folks to do their defensible space. So we're going to start working on that. We have somewhat of a script developed, and so we'll be working through that and then getting filming done. So that's my quick update. If anyone has any questions, I can take those, but otherwise, back to you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Allie, if I could chime in for just a second. We just finished our Firewise USA assessments, property assessments.
Wow.
And we were stunned at the number of people who had no address signs of any kind at all. Thank God for Onyx Maps because we could figure out what their street number should be. But yeah, we were pretty surprised. So we need to do a better job up here of reaching out to people and saying, hey, you can get these free reflective address signs.
Yes, yeah, we're hoping to send more mailers straight to their PO box or their mailbox, wherever they get their mail, to alert them. But yeah, I don't know. We definitely need to figure out a way to get those folks address signs, whether that be like just getting them for them and delivering it to them. I'm not sure, but yeah.
I kind of think that's the way to go. I've done that to 2 of my neighbors already, and they're like, oh, thank you. But it's like, why didn't you order one? Oh, I don't know. I don't do anything online. Then call the phone number. But yeah.
We can start printing out the form. It's not very long. It's only a couple questions. So we could try that way too. Maybe not with getting folks to submit the requests. So good idea.
As long as they actually install them, we will get them to them.
Yeah. Tanya, that was actually, you anticipated my question. I was wondering if we have a sense of how many of the signs that have actually been delivered have been installed.
You know, Allie, if you got me a head count or just street numbers or whatever, I could do a quick survey of that just driving around.
Yeah, that'd be great. I can send it.
Okay.
We do have that information. Next up in our report is Solano RCD, and I do apologize for stealing your announcement about the plant sale, but I know you guys are doing other things too.
Actually, that was much of our announcements. We've got we'll be tabling at the Salmon Festival with you folks on Saturday, November 2nd. We've got the plant sale coming up on Saturday, November 9th. Also coming up in November, there are some upcoming NRCS deadlines. The RCPP program, Regional Conservation Partnership Program, which is federal cost share for fuel reduction projects on lands that are enrolled with the FSA, or Farm Services Agency. The next application deadline for that is coming up on November 8th. That is a Friday. That is the application deadline, so you don't need to have a fully fleshed out project, but provided you meet the eligibility requirements and you can get an application in, that is something to consider. So it would be worth reaching out to your local NRCS office if you are interested in doing that. It's federal cost share funding that reimburses at a partial rate after the fact, and it is taxable income. So we take that into consideration when you apply. You can use it to offset the cost of some landscape level work. Similarly, the EQIP, Environmental Quality Incentives Program, the deadline for that one is the following Friday, November 15th. That also funds a lot of the same practices. That includes things like tree removal, cross fencing to facilitate grazing for fuel reduction, water infrastructure improvements for facilitating grazing. Those are both good opportunities to take advantage of if you are eligible and interested. And I can help route you to your local NRCS, or Tanya might be a more likely or a faster bet being in Yolo County. That's it for Solano.
Cool, thank you.
We're also continuing to plan a number of fuel reduction projects, but that's more of a Solano thing, and I can get into that if you're interested. But I guess the closest thing is some Quail Canyon prescribed grazing that might do some to slow spread into Yolo from Solano.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool, thank you. So let us do our community Fire Safe Council reports. Cape Valley.
Nothing to report.
Well, you had an event a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, it wasn't really Fire Safe Council, but it was National Fire Prevention Week.
Yes.
And we had our Firewise team there, Sivera, hot dogs, and again, our firefighters did let anyone who wanted to put out a fire with a fire extinguisher. So we had, Jesse could probably say how many, but there were several children, and I'm not sure if there were any adults who got a chance to do that or took that opportunity. But it was fun to watch the kids basically feel empowered that they could do this, that they could put a fire out. And gosh, I'm forgetting what else was there. Jonathan can probably chime in on something too.
We had the a representative from the state insurance commissioner who provided the information, some good information on alternatives to the FAIR plan, options for insurance, as well as, and this was the same person who came out and presented to the Fire Safe Council, but that was useful. So very useful information.
Yeah.
Also there as well.
Yeah, Duria was very, very helpful, very informative, and she is committed to coming to a town hall meeting in January or February here at the Gwenda Grange for our community to come learn about what's going on and what's coming up and options, etc.
Cool. Thank you. Napa Firewise is not here. And Leanne, are you reporting for Pleasance Valley?
Well, I guess so. Um, and maybe also Green Valley, because that was something that some of us went over to see this
Yeah.
presentation on the shaded fuel break that got completed over in Green Valley. And that's a great work. And, you know, kudos to Rochelle Sherlock for overseeing all the work that was done there and hiring the contractors and getting a grant to help fund it all. Last month, we had a really great speaker, and I'm sorry, I forgot his name and the exact title of his business, but it was some type of disaster mitigation industrial building outfit from South Carolina. And he gave a demonstration on his company that sets up outside areas on their property that they actually do experiments on wind, fire, rain, and to see how fast, for example, when a fire ignites, how fast the home will ignite from whatever distance and wind speeds, etc.
Leanne, can I chime in?
Yes, please.
It was Steve Hawks from the
Okay.
Insurance
Yes.
Institute for Building and Home Safety.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And it was a very, very interesting demonstration. And it opened my eyes to how fast a house can ignite in a fire. And especially if you don't have certain things in place, for example, hardening up under the eaves, using hardy board on the sides of homes, as opposed to, you know, some of the wood siding or T111 or shiplap, that kind of thing. And then how fire gets into vents easily, and they can be sucked in if the vent screen is big or if it also has wood. And so, for example, my house is 30 years old and it has wood up on the top on the vents, but yet my air conditioner was left on the night of the fire. So no fire, no embers got sucked in. And I think I was fortunate in that respect, but the rest of the house is stucco. And then he went on to, you know, state how fast an entire home can go up. So you could see, people could really see and understand what they need to do to make their homes more resilient by a presentation like this.
Well, don't forget, we also 2 years ago did a defensible space training, and we have some folks in this group who can do an assessment for their neighbors. That has
Right.
not been very popular, even though we thought it was a great idea.
We did the same thing as well.
Yeah, we coordinated with
And
you
we
guys
haven't
on
had
that.
any, you know, people requesting an assessment. But I think it's maybe, you know, people don't want to hear that word assessment. They want to hear a friendlier word. You know, we're not out there to pick their house apart. We're out there to help them and to help them understand, you know, where fire could get in easily. So maybe we just need to word that differently instead of Firewise assessment.
Leanne, I think that's a great point about how the language affects whether or not people are going to want to take advantage of that opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely was, there hasn't been any takers in West Winters or Capay Valley after our training, so.
I don't know of anybody in Pleasance Valley that
Yeah.
has contacted us. And we did the training, I think a couple years ago as well.
Yeah, it was a group. It was March 2022. Okay. Anything else from Pleasance Valley? I was thinking of having Steve Hawks give a talk to us as well. Maybe a shorter one because that one was like an hour. But you guys kind of already know that. So it's the folks who don't have the opportunity who need to engage in that. Wes Winters.
That's me. I'm Stuart. You guys have actually taken a lot of it away from us with the assessments being done in other areas, but we're going to try and push in our area to do some of the residential assessments for the area, even though CAL FIRE has been through Golden Bear quite a bit. Maybe we can dovetail on with them and see how they go. And other than that is just trying to get some informational stuff together so we can attend some of these show and tell things for brochures and mappings and things like that. Just more of an information stuff, but we'll let you know how the assessment evaluations go, because like I said, there's a lot of people that don't even know anything about them, and those that do sometimes don't want to have anything to do with it. So that's all I can say at this time. Thank you, Tanya.
Great, thank you. Okay, if anyone has any questions or comments, that concludes our regular reports.
I guess at this point we I lost my agenda.
Oh, it's adjourn and set the next meeting.
Right, it was a set the next meeting, and I'm looking for the date because I had that handy, and then I
well, that is actually, I'm looking at a calendar right now. That now is when things get awkward.
Yep.
Because the fourth Wednesday is the day before Thanksgiving. I had put on the agenda as a potential the third Wednesday. Or what we did last year is we did, I think, an early Wednesday in December, and that covered November and December. If folks want to do that, that is another option.
I think that's the options for discussion.
So that would be like the 4th or the 11th before we start getting into more holiday things.
Unless we've got something crazy to discuss, I would be game for one meeting that encompasses November and December, and just try and give everybody a break during the crazy holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good to me. I'd prefer December 11th to the 4th.
I think I agree that would be good too.
The 11th.
Sounds like a limited consensus. This is that point for anybody to any other additional comments? I think the 11th sounds good by me, but I
think the 11th is winning.
I'll make a motion for the 11th.
Great. I'll second that.
All right. All in favor for the next meeting on the 11th for accommodation of November and December? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. All right. On the same note, we're looking for a motion to end the meeting. We're a little early.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? I'm not waiting for any more. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Thank you. Any opposed? Nay. I think we've closed the meeting and the reporting.